Welcome back to the One Song, 1 Month Challenge. Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com, and today I'm laying down vocals for my song, and I want to show you how to get a killer sounding vocal, a vocal that sits in the mix beautifully in your home studio if all you have is one microphone and an audio interface. When I was learning how to record vocals in college, in audio school, and when I've worked in some really nice studios, we would have a nice microphone, go to a nice preamp, to a nice compressor, and maybe a little bit of EQ. Then it would hit tape or Pro Tools or your DAW or whatever. But then you get into home studio, have a simple audio interface. You've got a mic that can plug right into the mic pre that's built into your interface, and those sound great. They're great preamps, they're great converters. I address that plenty here on the blog. But what many of us don't have is a way to compress or EQ on the way inside. And also, even if you did, you don't have a great way to hear the changes that you're making in the moment, because you are actually in the control room and the tracking room at the same time, and most of us are recording ourselves, so you're also the talent. So it's really hard to gain that perspective of, is this compression setting on this plugin working or not? So today I want to show you a real simple method for capturing a killer vocal with a simple one mic audio interface setup using the plugins you already have in your DAW. It's a really, really beautifully simple concept. So first, I'm going to lay down the vocal pass on a verse and chorus of my song, and you're going to notice the dynamics in the chorus are way different than they are in the verse. And this is a problem. This is going to be a reason why compression can be so helpful. So it's very quiet on the verse, and then the vocal gets louder in the chorus. So I'm going to lay that down. And then two, you're going to hear that the vocal sounds good. I think I've matched a good mic. Today I'm using a Rode NT1A, one of my old faithfuls. I love this mic. I've got 3 of them. I'm going to be using a mic that I think is a good match for my voice, but it's not going to be perfect, right? And yes, we can mix the voice later, but what I want to show you is how you can get the voice to sound perfect, get your vocal sounding close to perfect now on recording day, so that when you come to mix, it sounds even better and it's easier to mix. So first, let's record a little bit and then we'll dive into the DAW.
You who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You have money, come buy one, milk and bread, food that satisfies your soul without any payment. God, I believe you satisfy your children. My hands are open, and God, I believe you promise a full provision. My hands are open.
All right, so here's the vocal pass I just did, and let's take a listen to it by itself at unity gain with the mix.
You who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well.
Now, the first thing you notice is that it's hard to hear. It's pretty quiet, and that's because it's a quiet part of the song. I'm singing quietly. You know, in the chorus, it's a little bit louder.
God, I believe you satisfy your children. My hands are open.
The dynamic is all over the place. You know, if I make this bigger, we zoom in here, I've got quiet little parts here, all the way to massive parts where I'm singing open and I'm singing it loud. So it's a bigger vowel and it's a louder part of the song. So the dynamic range is huge. And for a modern vocal, the dynamic range really needs to be reduced so that you hear every word the whole time. And on top of that, how do you get a voice to sit on top of a loud rock mix or any genre where there's lots of tracks going on? You need compression. So this is a reason why people track through compression. So here's what you can do in your own DAW. Once you've laid down your vocals and you feel like the pass itself is good, and you've done all the overdubs or you've done all the parts or punched in where you need to, when you feel good with the performance and then the microphone choice, like the raw sound of the recording, Here's where on recording day, you can take it up just a notch. It's a real simple concept. While it's fresh on your mind and you're like, this is a great sounding vocal, but it's not sitting in the mix, go ahead and compress it now. So what I'm going to do is grab a compressor. I'm going to grab the FG116, which is Stephen Slate's 1176 emulation, basically a real classic rock vocal compressor, super simple to use. And to compress the vocals, I'm going to go to the loudest part of the song, because that's a compressor turns something down. So in essence, I'm turning down the loud peaks a little bit, squashing them a bit, so then I can bring up the rest of the stuff that's not compressed, which will really mean the vocal down here in the verse. So the loud parts will be squozen, but the quiet parts really won't get compressed. They'll just get turned up, which is what we want.
God, I believe you satisfy your children. My hands are open, and God, I believe you promise a full provision. My hands are open.
All right, so a little more contained in the chorus. Let's see how it's sounding in the verse now.
Come, you who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You who have no money, come, buy wine, milk and bread.
So much louder, I can hear it. Just turned that part of the vocal up, and there wasn't a lot of compression. Only certain words were getting squashed by 1 dB, 1.5. So really, that's the benefit. As I squeeze down the loud ones, it brings up the quiet parts of the vocal. So you get a nice consistent volume as we go from here.
Satisfies your soul without any payment. God, I believe you satisfy your children. My hands are open.
Way more consistent, right? Upfront and consistent. So that's the first step, is kind of get that volume evened out with the compressor. And, depending on your compressor, listen for how hard it's hitting. I usually like 3 to 6 dB of gain reduction on a vocal, but sometimes with compressors like the 1176, you can get more gain reduction if you have a low ratio like 4:1 or 2:1. As long as it sounds good. If you hear too much pumping and it doesn't sound nice, then dial it back a little bit. Now, what I also don't like is how sort of thick the vocal is. I want to clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to grab an EQ here, and what I'm going to do is actually EQ before the compressor, which is what I typically like to do. Now that I can hear the vocal a little bit, I'm going to cut out a couple of frequencies. First, I'm going to high pass, which is going to roll off everything just below 100. This will just kind of clean up some of the low stuff that I won't hear in the mix anyway, leave room for the bass guitar and the kick drum, and make the mids a little more present. And then I'm going to go hunting for some low mid stuff that just sounds wonky and cut it out to clean out this vocal.
Come, you who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You who have no money, come, buy wine, milk and bread, food that satisfies your soul.
Just going to dial some of that out a little bit. That's around 350, just a little honky there. And let's see, then I'm going to just do a little bit of a lift at the top end. When I do top end boost, this is a shelf for 1, which is going to be a lot more natural for you. And then I like to just do 1 to 1.5 dB of a lift.
Come, you who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You who have no money.
Now let's solo this vocal, and we'll just kind of bypass what we've done so far. So 2 EQ cuts, rolled off the low end, cut out somewhere around 350. So that was about 3 dB cut, and then a 1.5 dB boost, so it made up a little bit of the gain there, and then compressing it. Take a listen to with the EQ and compression, and then I'll bypass.
Come, you who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You who have no money, come, by wine, milk and bread, food that satisfies your soul without any payment. God, I believe you satisfy your children. My hands are open.
So much more brighter and up front. And if you noticed, I wanted to save it to that part. The volume on open was the same with or without the compression. Now compressed. It's just a little more present. That's as loud as the vocal was getting, and it was almost loud enough. And what I wanted to do is bring everything else up to that level and make it more up front, where it's, again, present in the whole mix. So it's not just a gain thing, it's compression on vocals is a great way to go. And use your plugin, then use an EQ, clean it up, and then the final step is just to go ahead and process and render this thing. So, you know, your DAW might say it differently in Pro Tools. I'm on still 11 right now, so I can just do this in Audio Suite, but you can also do track freeze in Pro Tools 12. I just haven't gotten that updated yet, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this setting. Go to Audio Suite, Virtual Mix Rack, paste the settings, select this, and render. So now you can see what it looks like. I can bypass the actual plugin. Now we have that EQ and compression basically stored to the recording.
Come, you who thirst, come and drink from the waters of my well. You who have no money, come.
And it's as simple as that.
Well, there you have it, friends. How to use a simple home studio, one mic audio interface setup, but harness the power of your own plugins, even the stock ones built in with your DAW, to sculpt it, shape it, and really get a mix-ready vocal. Really, the vocals that we're used to mixing, that I'm used to mixing, what that come to me from a good recording, are already a little compressed, a little cleaned up with EQ, and they sit better. So that's how you do it in a simple home studio setup. I hope it gives you some ideas on how to use that concept, maybe even on things other than vocals. And in general, I hope you have fun tracking your vocals on your song. If you're following along in January, then get ready to submit your song. We're doing a big giveaway, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go watch the initial announcement video to this so you know what the big giveaways are. And if you're just watching this at some later date, then hopefully you're just following along for yourself, taking a 30-day window and trying to challenge yourself to write a new song, record that song, mix that song, and release it. We're going to be doing that. So next week, we're going to get into mixing, show you some of my favorite mixing tips on working on how to get your mix sounding great really quickly. And then to wrap it up at the end of the month, I'm going to be showing you how to get your mix almost kind of radio ready, some final tips, and how to digitally share it. Some of my favorite platforms for sharing your music, because it's not really finished until you hand it off to the world and let somebody listen to it. So I hope you're enjoying the challenge and following along yourself, and most importantly, that this is motivating you to make music and better sounding music and have fun while you're doing it. Thanks for subscribing to the videos. It means a heck of a lot. And if you like this kind of training, you want my best material in your inbox, stuff that I don't post here, stuff that I don't post on the blog or YouTube or anywhere, then join the mailing list. I got a bunch of awesome stuff I want to send you, including the Smart Start to Mixing video series, which is going to blow your mind, how to get better sounding tracks in your current DAW with your current plugins. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next video.